Hello guys, I'm so excited that finally I have just received my new book, The Bible of Bodybuilding. It's a book that consists of 400 pages. You can purchase this book on Amazon, and this book contains my former other books, The PDs Using Sports and the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, plus the Training, Nutrition, Supplementation, but also including extra features, Q&As about gear, about HRT, but also a quiz regarding supplements, diet, and of course PEDs. So the Bible of Bodybuilding on Amazon, both on ebook and Kindle version.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Touliatos, and brought to you by his book, The Bible of Bodybuilding, available on Amazon.com. If you're on Amazon.com buying books, get my book, Real Bodybuilding. What a great book. Now all the way from Athens, Greece, please welcome Dr. George Touliatos. Hey doctor, how are you?
Hi everyone, have a good week. We just had Easter yesterday, and today we celebrate George's name, so it's a name day. You know, in Orthodox we have the name days, the saints. You know,
Wow.
So apart from the birthday, which is something mostly West coming from the States, you know, in the Orthodox we celebrate the name day also. So every Christian name has a saint that is celebrated. For instance, on Christmas Day, Chris is celebrating.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Yeah. Is George the one that killed the dragon, or was that a different Saint George?
Exactly. Yeah, the dragon. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's
So
funny.
you have the same tradition, right?
Well, not really, but my son-in-law, he's Lebanese, and they got married in an Antiochal Orthodox church. Antioch was very similar because they had all the mosaics and everything.
Yes.
They had St. George was up. I saw that was one of them up on the above on the ceiling. So yeah, because this is a very, very old form of Christianity. That's why your Easter is a week after we celebrate.
Exactly.
Easter.
Almost. Yeah. Sometimes, very rarely, it's the same day as the Catholic.
Yeah. We did a great show a few days ago with yourself and Dr. Thomas O'Connor. We were just discussing this, you and I don't know when we're going to post it, but I urge everyone to watch it. It was about, harm reduction for bodybuilders. How do we keep bodybuilders alive? And
the vascular issues mainly. Yeah.
You and Thomas had a great discussion. So I urge everyone to check that out. Before we get into questions, I actually have a question. I didn't give you any preparation for this. I'm sorry. I've been on statin. I've been on 10 milligrams of a generic Lipitor for a couple of years now. And I've been getting a lot of muscle tears. Like I just tore my glute. It's very painful.
You tore your glute? Is this possible? In what exercise? In what exercise?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering, have you heard of people on statins experiencing muscle tears when they're
not tearing your glute? Glute, you have to tell you, in a cross section has the largest muscle fiber from all the muscles in the body.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it's the most powerful because the jaw has the most powerful, the masseter. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But
the glute has the thicker muscle fiber in cross section from all the muscles in the body.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had an MRI, but it's either where the glute inserts into the hamstring, or maybe I tore my hamstring at the origin up near the glute. It's one of those. It's very, very painful.
The only case it would be during the eccentric movement of the free squat, I guess. Or during the all the way down hack squat, or lunges, walking lunges, perhaps.
Yeah.
That's the only case I would think about it,
Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything crazy for legs anymore. I really don't. I just
But answering your question, absolutely. I mean, rhabdomyolysis. Sorry, it was the rhabdomyolysis is the only, standard side effect. And I guess that's why I don't recommend statins while on steroids, because on your steroids, you push your gear to the limit and you have rhabdomyolysis in first place. And then rhabdomyolysis, the other thing is that the liver, the transaminamia, so elevated CK then results to elevated
liver enzymes,
Yeah.
but mostly the elevated CK ruptures the muscles, and the myoglobin released from the muscles is toxic to the renal glomerulus. So you may elevate your creatinine if you're dehydrated. It's a chain reaction. And apart from this, I have to tell you, statins in the long run lead to prediabetes, insulin resistance. So you got to watch your diet a lot. You got to take metformin. So a drug for a drug, you know. Of course, statins are a must and life-saving for those who have a calcium score or a myocardial infarction, you know, or an angina pectoris. So it's a must. But as a prevention, man, you got to take your chance. And if you're a bodybuilder, you push it to the limit. And I mean, if you're a sedentary guy who's in the office, you don't have a CK over 200, you know.
Right. Food for thought. Yeah, because I'm definitely on steroids and a statin at the same time. I have been this whole time, obviously.
I'm telling you, Ron, if you just use testosterone, either 300, 400, and take off the deca, you're not going to have that much of CK and also perhaps liver enzyme elevation. And mostly your LDL will be kept within range without the deca and without the statin, because you eat clean, you die. I mean, you do your cardio. So testosterone does not elevate LDL, deca does. And for the sake of deca, you're using static now.
Okay.
You know, so it's up to your mind, because 200 deca is nothing for you. And I guess over your 50s, you need to have a good atheromatic index, you know. I'm using personally red rice yeast all year round. I'm eating clean. Of course, statins are miraculous. And you can have as low LDL as 75, for instance, which is crazy low.
Yeah. Well, they were doing a great job for my lipids, but oh well, they're messing me up. All right, let's get to some of the readers' questions, because they don't want to hear about me all damn day. So here we go. This is a good one. We always hear about the so-called synergy between compounds when it comes to building mass. But is there actual scientific basis behind this, or is it just bro science? An example I've seen claimed often that in a bulk cycle, running 500 milligrams sustanon and 250 milligrams deca per week will yield more muscle gains than running sustanon only at 750 milligrams. What do you think?
Now, we've said that during the off-season, estrogens are necessary for the bulking effect, and not that necessarily, I wouldn't say pure anabolic, but they improve the affinity of the androgen receptor. They can increase IGF-1, and also they lubricate the joints. They favor muscle glycogen synthesis. That means the fuel storage for muscle energy, you know. And we know that the most anabolic ones are the ones that have a high estrogenic activity, like dianabol, like deca, like testosterone, like methyl testosterone, like nandrolone also. Now, deca is a decent anabolic with an anabolic index of 140, which is more anabolic than equipose, more anabolic than primo. Okay, testosterone is supposed to be 100, but I guess testosterone is the king of the steroids. It's not only an anabolic, but it's also an androgen. I believe that it's preferable to stack different compounds rather than using one compound. All right, they have a synergistic effect. And for the same reason, we're using a stacking during the cutting phase. So that's why we say that the perfect off-season injectable stack is long-acting testosterone, long-acting deca, and the long-acting trembolone, you know? And then you have the two magic pills, the dianabol and the anadrol, okay, instead of using just testosterone, for instance.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you can't get big doing that, we're not advocating this to anybody. We're just saying what would be the most effective. We're not saying this is healthy at all. It's not, but we gotta play the devil's advocate sometimes. Next question: if someone is sensitive to E2 with high normal SHBG and on 100 milligrams test CYP, can CanProviron cause a rapid increase in free testosterone that can subsequently aromatize, making E2 symptoms worse?
Now, this is an interesting case I was thinking about 5 years ago. We know that Proviron, even though it's a DHT, and DHT has anti-estrogenic effects, yet in the labs, what does it do? So it crashes on SHBG and it liberates free testosterone. But as a matter of fact, free testosterone is the one that is active. and then free testosterone will aromatize. But I've seen that in paper in a patient. I was giving him monotherapy of Proviron because of his low sex drive. And what I noticed was an elevated free testosterone and a slightly elevated estradiol. So I wouldn't say that because you give Proviron that crashes SHBG, liberates free testosterone, you're going to have severe aromatization. Like, for instance, you take a dianabol, okay? So apart from this, DHT has an estrogenic effect. Okay, I wouldn't say it's like aromatase inhibitor, but Proviron and Masteron, they can control, in a way, estrogen production, okay?
Yeah.
So, so this guy asks if he uses Proviron instead of what? Of Arimidex.
So let's see. Well, he didn't say that. He says, so he's sensitive to estrogen with high normal SHBG. He wanted to know if he's on 100 milligrams test a week. Proviron, can it cause a rapid increase in free testosterone? Which, yes, it does. Can that aromatize?
No, I wouldn't say that aromatize. Elevate slightly. I've seen that in lab work in paper, yes. But it wouldn't lead to gynecomastia, for instance.
Okay, good. Next question. I got my blood work done after a 12-week cycle. I'm 36 years old. At the start, my test was 11 nmol over L, so it's just UK values, and 58 estradiol. At the end, my test was 59 nmol and estradiol 179 nmol. My cycle was 450 milligrams of sustanon per week. My question is, how do I know if this is correct readings for that dose I've been taking? Is there a general rule of thumb for gear dose and hormone levels?
Yeah, we said that before, but actually this guy uses another scale for range. So what I know from European Union, we have the range between 350 and 1,000, which is, I guess, also the American. This guy uses the UK scale. So roughly, for 1 ml of 250 testosterone, we got about 2,000 nanograms.
Wow.
All right, pharmaceutical grade.
Okay.
Okay, this is what I know from experience, you know. And you can reach the 1,000 level, which is the top optimized with 150 to 100 the most. I guess with 200, you go over the 1,000. But it's a very critical point when the specific timing you measure your testosterone. So let's say you inject twice a week, Monday and Thursday.
Yep.
You got to take the blood the day of the shot, but just before the shot. Otherwise, if you take it after the shot, you're going to measure the spike. And we don't care about the spike. We care about the trough.
Okay.
If the trough is high, the spike certainly is going to be sky high. Okay, so we care about the lowest levels. So the day of the injection, but before the injection.
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of people want to know when they can do their blood work, when they want their blood work to show low testosterone.
Yes,
So
yes.
so that they'll get prescribed testosterone.
And another thing is that if you break down the dose in more frequent ones, you have less fluctuation. So the 200 can be broken down 100 of twice or every other day of 50, which is even more stable, you know?
Yep. Interesting. This is a great question. Moon face, we call it, with the big bloated, fat, round face. Doc, how can we avoid moon face? I only take 500 milligrams of test per week, nothing more. Is it diet, genetics?
Now, moon phase in pathology is two cases. Cushing's syndrome, when you have high aldosterone and cortisol. So check out your cortisol and your aldosterone, okay, because they lead to water retention. And also hypothyroidism, myxedema. So check out also your TSH if you have low thyroid. Apart from this now, it can be fat deposition, you know, which is, some people have, you know, how you say, no cheekbones, they have the...
Yeah, big chubby cheeks.
Yes, exactly. Or, you know, some people that chew a lot, they have the buccinator muscle, which is the muscles of no mastication, but the cheeks here, you know, they're really hypertrophic. Like the Godfather, number one. Huh?
Well, he was
Marlon Brando had some cotton. Yeah, we're here.
That's right.
Like he was on steroids.
Yeah. You come to me at my daughter's wedding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
And also could be, yes, using too much of salt, you know. So the retention. And some people are, you know, blessed to have more jawline, you know, in angles. And if they get lean, they have this death phase, you know.
Yeah. I think for me, it's body fat. I used to carry a lot more body fat, and I had a very round face. If you
But
look
when
at,
you lean out, you can see your zygomatic bones in your jawline.
yeah, but for me, yeah, not deca, D-ball, anadrol, anything that would cause a lot of water retention made it worse. I look at some pictures of my face looked like a pumpkin. It was just so round. Oh, anyway, but good advice. Here's a good one. Doctor, can I take injectable L-carnitine to remove gynecomastia?
No, injectable carnitine, I don't think it works, even for fat oxidation, you know. But certainly not for gyno. Gyno, you can remove it either by surgery or chemically by tamoxifen. It's too late using anastrozole or Femara or aromacin or anastrozole or letrozole or exemestane, because the aromatase inhibitor don't work in this way. They prevent the synthesis of estrogens. As long as you have the establishment and the formation of gyno, you need to occupy the receptor, like sitting on the chair, and the floating estrogen cannot sit on the receptor, you know? So a different mechanism. That's why you need to take an Olvadex until it leaves, you know? And if it insists, then you need to remove it.
But the tamoxifen, if it's already well established, if you have a big lump, is tamoxifen going to help you, or is it too late?
It can. If not, you got to remove it. But in the paperwork, in the lab work, you need to measure prolactin, of course. You need to measure E2, estradiol, and sometimes low DHT and high IGF-1 also contribute to gyno. That means abusing GH, and that means also that implementation of Muscular and Proviron can help us as DHT, you know, that has anti-estrogenic activity. And I'm sorry, and another one is prolactin, sorry. So taking also dopamine agonist may help.
Yeah, I mean, I was at a local show a couple of weeks ago, and the amount of people with gyno I couldn't believe how many people had gyno. You know, this was like
But gyno, you know, there come some people in my office that are paranoid. By the way, look, I asked them, is it your perception? Is it painful? Can you touch it, for instance? And when they
when the hands are up, that's when you really
show
see
up. Yeah, I guess it's their perception. You know, it's not something really bad. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. T, you always talk about HCG dosage, but what level should we look for in blood work for fertility and general health? I recently went for blood work, and after a week of HCG at 2000 IU, my levels went over the reference range to super physiological. Please advise if I should maintain this dose.
Of course, this dose that you're using is really high. We don't recommend over 1,000 either for PCT per week. I'm sorry, per week for PCT it's 3,000. But if you wanna retain your fertility, you need to use perhaps 500 or 1,000 per week. But also matters if you use a monodose, large monodose of HCG like 1,000, or break it down into two doses of 500. Okay. So we prefer also microdosing of HCG. Okay, and if we do the PCT, then we use 1,000 every 3 days, but just for 2 weeks. You don't need more. You need just, you know, a kick for the stimulation, and then you need time to make your recovery and heal, you know.
Yeah, cool. Now our last question is Gus Poulos. I thought we would never hear from Gus last week because I made him the question of the week because he wanted you to rate his summer cutting cycle, and you told him, Gus, no, you have a high calcium score already. I want you should just be on TRT, forget about cycling. So he wrote to thank you. Gus Poulos says, hello, Dr. T. I want to thank you for your advice last week about my calcium score being high, so I've stopped blasting. See, you did it, George. You talked him out of it. My question is, what is the highest dose of testosterone I can do as TRT without affecting my calcium score?
Now, this kind of question means I can get enough of TRT. So you have to know that TRT is not blasting testosterone, is not also cruising on a high dose testosterone. It's just be under the higher range. And Thomas is really very strict about this. Yeah. So you need to use at least, the most, 200 milligrams in 2 doses of 100. If you go 1 ml of 250, you're certainly going to go to 1,500 or 2,000 nanograms, which may not be as bad as using, for instance, 250 of deca or something else, but a high dose of testosterone will elevate hemoglobin and hematocrit, slightly reduce HDL, and perhaps along with heavy training lead to LVH and aromatization as well, if you have a body fat over 10%.
Yeah.
So you see that going over the range makes you polypharmacy afterwards. You need an aromatase inhibitor, you need an ARB for the LVH, maybe you're gonna need an ARB for the erythrocytosis. You may, you know, so it has consequences. Yeah. So I guess use 200 milligrams. Perhaps if he lives in the States, he cannot find CanProviron. He can use a little bit of GH, 1 or 2 IUs a day. And that's all, man. Don't be paranoid, because frankly, TRT is not about getting big.
Right.
It's functionally healthy as a man.
Yeah. Well,
you're not going to be a bodybuilder. Perhaps you're going to retain some muscle after years of bodybuilding, but we don't care about size and posing, you know, with the TRT. You need to be functioning healthy in the mind, in the body. Okay, take all the supplements of the world all year round, but don't start posing and flexing with TRT. You know, it's a wrong perception.
Yeah. I wonder how many guys are really going to legitimate TRT who were blasting with all these deaths and serious health problems. I wonder how many guys are really changing their whole attitude about it and going and dropping the blast.
You know, I'm having the privilege to have a dialogue with a very VIP of the golden era. Actually, with 2 of them.
Samir?
Samir and somebody else that you know, of course, and we have interviewed. And he told me that since I had my calcium score, I'm just on testosterone. And I'm just on 200 milligrams of testosterone. That's all. Yeah. That's all my doctor, you know, permits me to have, you know, and perhaps low GH. That's all, guys. Forget about the rest of the drugs, you know. Yeah. I mean, we are used to grams of drugs. What the heck 200 milligrams of deca is going to do if you add it on TRT? Nothing. It's all in the brain, man. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
your priority is health, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of guys, you know, myself included. I'm hesitating to drop down to just 200 milligrams of test a week because I wouldn't lose a lot of muscle. I wouldn't, because I never got huge. I was never 300. I was never this big freak anyway. But I don't know, man. It's gotta happen soon if it's gonna happen, I guess. I'll be 53 in September, for God's sake. So a lot of thinking to do, doctor. A lot of thinking to do. Anyway, yeah, that's the show, doctor. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And guys, please check out on this channel. It's either up already or it's going to be up soon. Is the Ronline Report with Dr. T and Dr. Thomas O'Connor. Great discussion these 2 had about harm reduction for steroid users, how to keep you guys out there using steroids alive and healthy longer. So please check that out. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like, comment. Comments should be questions for the next show. Put them right under there. And Dr. George Touliatos, thank you so much.
Also, I mean, my show with Monica Brown will be on her channel, but we need to host also Monica.
Yeah, has your show with her already run or no?
It's this month, actually.
Because they recorded it. You recorded at the Arnold Classic, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, what's taking her so long? It's almost May. Come on, Monica. Yeah. All right, but yeah, let's. I'll get in touch with her. I kind of dropped the ball on that because yeah, I'll get in touch directly with Monica. We'll see how that goes. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Ask Dr. Testosterone. We'll see you next time.